Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stark, and welcome to another Stark Silver Linings. In this episode, we are taking a look at sort of fending off kind of a can contain that can happen. This is a two-part. I'm not going to obviously play out both games because they're both fairly long. We're just going to take a look at the actual cannons that sort of get in my way and how I end up dealing with them. So in this first game on Aquiline Wastes, my opponent is going to be Shontu. Oh, I get it. I get it now. Yes. There we go. Clever, clever, clever name. Anyways, so what's going to happen here is he's going to go for a cannon contain on me, and this is partially because of my fault, because a lot of times that I have when I'm playing against a Protoss player, most of the time they're going to end up blocking this expansion here with a pylon. This guy doesn't actually do that, but I think he's going to, so my initial reaction is to drop a pool first, which turns out to be not beneficial to me. I don't actually do anything with it, and it causes me quite a bit of grief because of it. So he's going to stand at his probe, going to check to make sure that I haven't dropped this yet, which if I didn't go for the pool first, I probably could have, but then he could have stopped me with a pylon, and there's a whole bunch of other problems that could arise from that. So right now we're having this pretty much a standard opening top. Looks like he's going for a forge and a gateway, and then he'll try to probably expand behind this contain that he's going to try to put into me. He's going to drop a pylon right around here eventually. He's just trying to make sure that I don't have this hatchery going down just yet. I'm not sure what he's doing. He's kind of scattering around, sort of making sure that my unfortunately he's going to miss this this drone actually coming out, so he can't directly block this with a pylon, but he can now go check it and drop a pylon up here and then start building cannons, which will actually kind of damage me. This is where the problem comes in, is this hatchery is not going to be finished before pylons and cannons can sort of get in position, because the nice thing about Zerg, they're difficult to throw down a cannon rush on certain maps because creep will prevent cannons from actually getting close to your base. Now with this map, and especially what's going on right now, since the hatchery was put down a little later than it should have been, ideally, he's actually going to get the cannons out in good position. He could probably just put them right here, first off, but my Overlord does see it, so I do know that these cannons are here, which has me panicking, so my reaction is to start making Zerglings immediately to try to kill as much as I can, which is not going to be actually all that beneficial to me, because Zerglings against cannons doesn't work very well, especially in this kind of position where they're back and I can't actually get a surround going. Now this cannon here will protect these two from any type of Zergling play, and what I really need to do, fortunately this is going to finish, but not in time. So this cannon's actually going to be here before the creep spread can sort of stop anything from happening. I did manage to kill the pylon, or not the pylon, the probe, so that is going to buy me a little bit of time, but what I'm not doing right now, which is what I really need to be doing, I need to be making drones to actually make spine crawlers on this side here, because right now this cannon is pretty much just going to be allowed free reign to sort of pick away at my hatchery here, which is not going to be all that helpful because I can't produce enough to actually take care of this, because this cannon contain was a lot closer. I managed to pick off an Overlord as well, so I'm also horribly supply capped right now. So I have to actually make 2 Overlords to really get back in position, and now I can finally get these spine crawlers going, but they're a little too late. Those Zerglings kind of just walked in and died for no reason. He's getting another, and this Queen is kind of just running away from the Zealot. I'm not exactly sure why, because I'm doing this all wrong completely. I'm now just starting to fix my supply cap, and in the meantime this hatchery is pretty much going to go down, and there's not much I can really do about it with the 2 cannons here. So I'm pretty much going to lose this. So what I took away from this particular game is I needed to get the spine crawlers down sooner, and I also need to get the hatchery out sooner to start this creep spread that will help prevent this sort of cannon contain from coming in. And hopefully that'll actually play out better, because I'll come up in the later part of this video, in the next part actually, against another Protoss player who's doing the exact same thing, but it's a different map and does it in a slightly different place, and it actually works out a little better for me. But we'll see that, so I'll just load that up now. Alright, so here we are in the second part, and so my opponent in this game, map is Xeris Prime, and he's doing sort of the same kind of thing that we saw in the previous game, but he's starting at it a little farther away, more for a much more natural contain, to try to prevent me from getting a third base here, rather than trying to use the cannons to kill this hatchery. Now, I don't actually know this is here yet, because I don't have my Overlord sort of sitting above my natural as I normally do. Why? I'm not exactly 100% sure why I didn't do that. So I have no information as to what's going on right here. I do manage to see this probe here because my Overlord is kind of sitting outside by these rocks. I don't exactly understand why I did that, because I normally would have had it about here, but since I did catch the probe, I decided to send this Overlord back to see what he's sort of up to, and then I'm eventually going to see that, yes, this is going to be happening here. He's going for more of an actual containment. As I said, he's going to try to prevent me from leaving my base to get a third. However, this hatchery is going to go down, and the creep spread is going to start before cannons can sort of get into a position. So this is where it's actually going to happen. And as we saw in the previous game, one of my major problems is I didn't start the spine crawlers early enough. So in this time, I'm getting them quite a bit sooner, and I do have the Zerglings on the way already, so I can try to pick off these cannons, pick off these probes, and see what can happen. I might actually manage to kill this one before it finishes, or force the cancel on it. There's the cancel. You're getting another pylon down, another couple of cannons, and actually that's another pylon for some strange reason. I guess there's no cannon range there, but now the Queen gets out. I do have these three about finished, whereas these cannons are sort of... This one's not going to get to really work all that much, because he's got a lot of pylons, not a lot of cannons here. And now the creep has pretty much protected me entirely from these cannons. So I'm not going to lose this hatchery, which is what I did in the first game, which completely cost me the game, really, because once I lost that, I was incredibly far behind, and I was panicking greatly, so I wasn't actually able to turn that around. Oops, wrong one. Wrong button. That's reduction. That's what I want to see. As again, these are relatively long games, so I didn't really want to show the entire first one as to what happened. But since I do manage to hold off this particular cannon contain, it allows me to actually saturate this base eventually. I mean, I do have these three drones sort of sitting around doing nothing right now, and my IPM's still kinda rough at the moment. Let's go back to the production. But these spine crawlers will basically poke their way through this and kind of just leave these three cannons here. So that's actually cost him quite a bit of investment for nothing, really. He didn't really do any type of damage to me. Whereas I've now managed to successfully fend this off, which is what I was attempting to do in the first game. That worked out miserably, but it did give me the good practice at it, because I don't get cannon contained all that often. Most of the time when I come up against Protoss players, as we've seen in the past, they will just try to, instead of doing a cannon contain, they will just literally drop a pylon right where the expansion's supposed to be, and that's what kind of stops me. Now this probe's going to get to go in and see what exactly I'm up to. So he does see that I do have the Roach Warren. And what is he up to again? Now he's actually starting to tack. He's getting his Stargate going, probably going to get some Phoenixes, and try to keep this sort of containment pressure on me, because I can't... I mean, I could obviously bust through this relatively easily at this point, but I decide that it's a much better idea for me, since I know that he spent a lot of money on this sort of cannon contain that didn't really do anything. I know that he hasn't spent that much on an army or any type of technology. That's the process that's going through my mind at this point. And I decide to, okay, well, I'm just going to completely focus on my economy at this point, which again, I'm not even doing all that well in comparison. I've only got 37. So I'm not actually doing all that well, but I do have the expansion going, and I'm dropping a spire. Normally when I get put in this kind of situation, my inclination, like the situation where I'm sort of backed up against the wall, so my inclination is to get a spire, get some mutalisks out to do sort of a, because they're very mobile units, and I can fly past these, because I think there's actually more cannons here than there really is, but because that's just me being silly. Obviously, I should have broken this sooner. I should have made roaches, hydras, and roaches and zerglings. I don't actually have a hydra den yet, but I could have just broken this because I do have a bunch of money. But I'm saving up this money for a bunch of mutalisks that are going to come out. Unfortunately, he's already got phoenixes, and I don't know this until he actually comes and attacks me, because I haven't done any type of scouting information. As we can see, I don't even know where I know where he is because I've sent overlords to here and here, so I know exactly where he is, but I don't know what he's doing. Ideally, I should have put one of these overlords, sent down here. That's why I had to park here for a couple of minutes, and then just kind of had it float over the base to see what he's up to. And now I can see that he does have phoenixes, because he's going to attack these overlords here. They're going to go overlord hunting, and then I'm going to drop a bunch of spore crawlers right now to try to protect to see what's going on, whereas these phoenixes are just kind of going to go looking for stuff, which buys me time to actually make these spore crawlers, so my economy's not going to be hurt all that much, but I am going to lose a bunch of overlords. I'm going to lose a queen, but my drone count is not really going to change, because I might kill one or two. That's why also I stuck these zerglings sort of in here, just if he misses something. But I'm going to lose a bunch of overlords, which is not helpful, but my spore crawler's out right now, so pretty much my economy's safe, pretty much. I mean, these phoenixes do quite a bit of damage. They kill a lot of overlords, they kill a couple of queens, but I managed to pick up a couple of drones here. I'm going to lose these mutalisks because the phoenixes are a little better. And there's another one. I tried to sort of looking for the word. There we go. Try to engage, but then he's actually paying attention to these. So he's doing a pretty good job with it. Trying to chase them down individually. So not really all that much going on. But again, I'm not. I still haven't broken this. I really need to at this point, especially since I do have a massive supply lead, and I am starting to get the roaches going. So I could definitely easily break this and go for my third, which is kind of what I really need to do. I'm going to send these muters out to sort of get some more information to see if this is up yet, because I don't know that yet. The way they flew out, I didn't actually see anything here. So that's what these muters are sort of going into, to see what he's up to. He's still getting a lot of phoenixes right now. And phoenixes, they're great against mutalisks, but they're not really great against anything else. I do manage to pick off one couple of probes. I do try to kill this mothership core. I think I actually do, but these phoenixes are pretty much on me, and these muters, they're toast. I mean, I killed the mothership core, but you can get them out again relatively easily. But it is a bit of a gas sink. It's 100 minerals, 100 gas. It's the cost of a meter, but it doesn't really make too much of a difference in the long run. So now I do manage to actually finally get out of this. And since I know that he's making a bunch of phoenixes, I'm going to make hydras, because I know mutalisks are not going to help me. Because with the number of phoenixes he has on the field, the muters, they're just not going to help me at this point. So I decided to go for my third, decided to get hydralisks because it's going to be quite a bit more useful. And I'm making a lot of roaches because I'm thinking, okay, well, he's got a lot of phoenixes, so it doesn't matter if I can't kill them. He doesn't have a ground army to sort of stop me, but he's going for sky toss, basically. So he starts getting void rays. And void rays, they do bonus damage to roaches, basically. And I still don't really have anything that can kill these phoenixes. I mean, I'm getting 6 hydras out right now. I already have 2 on the field, 3 on the field. So now I can actually start sort of picking these apart. But it's still not going to be helpful because he can just fly away. And he's getting his void rays out. He's doing a, as I said, he's doing a very much a sky toss play. Which, hey, sky toss is incredibly powerful if you can pull it off. However, seeing this, for some reason I continue to make a couple of roaches. I eventually just convert strictly to hydras because it's a much, much more viable sort of play against what he's actually doing. Of course, he could always get Colossus, which he doesn't. He doesn't actually make a robotics facility, I don't think, at all. So now I'm deciding to move out because I know that, okay, he's got a bunch of phoenixes. I haven't really seen anything else. And I do have my third sort of started, so I can actually get the economy rolling a bit more. And I do have a bunch of roaches, and I know that right now, from what I've seen, which is absolutely nothing, I know that he doesn't have anything to kill it. I'm making an assumption. He could have a ton of immortals or a ton of stalkers, but he doesn't. I'm making an assumption, which is not a good thing to do, but he does have a lot of air units, and so I decided to just sacrifice my hydras, move these sort of stalkers in, well, not stalkers, roaches, to try to kill as much as I can. I could have taken down this Stargate, but I didn't. I don't know why. I decided to go for the probes, which at this point is not exactly useful because you can just move them away from me. So I probably should have just killed the Stargate, because that would have definitely lowered his production. And he sees that, okay, well, I'm doing a lot of ground units, so drops 3 more gateways to bring his total up to 4. And he's going to start dropping in a couple of other things. He's almost finished his warp gate yet. A little later, actually a lot later than you'd expect. But if you're doing for a heavy sky toss play, you might not get warp gate like early in the game if you wanted to do that sort of heavy sky toss play. And now I've seen that, okay, all he has is phoenixes and void rays. So I'm going to do mass hydralisk. Because, hey, what the hell? It's the only real unit that I have that can actually counter both of these. I could make corruptors, but void rays kinda still kill corruptors relatively easily because of the prismatic alignment. They end up doing a ton of damage to them. And hydras are a little bit of a better counter in a straight up fight. If you're going to be microing and trying to maneuver and run away and come back, corruptors may actually be better because it's slightly faster than void rays. But in a straight up fight, hydras are definitely the superior unit to use against them. In my own opinion, anyways. I find it a much more user-friendly unit to use. And now I can finally get this going. Again, I'm not having the greatest of incomes. I mean, I only got 58 workers on 3 bases, which is pretty terrible. I got 15, 16, and 16, which is, well, 16 is like the ideal number, right? Something like that. But I should have this 4th coming eventually, which is what I'm going to try to do. He's getting his 3rd down. I did manage to delay his 3rd earlier with my initial attack, and I'm starting to get some creep spread going since I've realized, okay, well, I'm doing a bit of a heavy ground army, so I need this creep spread to help me out, basically. And this is all because, really, I managed to fend off this cannon contain. Like, it didn't kill my base, so I was completely allowed free reign on my expansion and actually enabling me to really actually build an army. And this is the other thing. I decided to make a bunch of hydras, and then for some strange reason I decided to make a bunch of zerglings and a banding nest, because hey, I know he's got phoenixes, so I might as well try to make a bunch of zerglings, because phoenixes are not great against zerglings, because you can only pick up so many before the energy's gone. So, this is kind of like what's going through my mindset right now. Like, what's the most confusing army composition that I can actually make to kind of screw with him and what he's doing. But it's also met quite a bit in my favor, because I've got a much larger army supply at this point. I've got a lot more hydras than he's got air units. I mean, he does have Templar. He's got Dark Templar and High Templar and a couple of Archons here. So he's got something that's pretty good about killing Hydralisks, because Storm's really effective. He's getting level 1 ground upgrades, which will help his Dark Templar out there. What kind of upgrades does he actually have? He's got level 1 air, level 1 ground, and I've got 2-1 basically on my Hydralisk. So my upgrades is quite a bit better. And my army supply obviously is vastly superior at this point. So this is actually going to be a relatively short engagement. I've got almost double the army supply. But again, I'm using up a lot of Zerglings and a lot of Hydras here. and protoss units are somewhat more expensive and they're much more bulky. But again, when you're going up into a straight up fight, the guy with more units wins. I mean, it's a simple fact. Unless you get some really amazing micro, which most of the time you don't see unless you're in the Pro League. I mean, the Storms go down, they clean up the Zerglings nicely, obviously, but that's the other reason why I wanted to go Zergling, just in case he does have the Storm, he's going to drop it on the Zerglings, it's going to burn away, and the Hydras are just going to be allowed to pick away what's going on. I don't know that he's got Dark Templar yet, because I'm not really paying attention. I'm paying attention to more the air units, but now I sort of see, okay, well, he's got a Dark Templar. I do have an Overseer somewhere. He does have an Observer, but they're not really doing too much right now. He's not actually killing my creep teamers. I mean, he walked completely up here with an Observer, didn't kill the creep teamers at all. So now I can pick this stuff off and defend the fourth, and I still have now my army supply 75 to 8. So basically, I can attack now and pretty much end the game, because there's not much you can actually do to stop me. Starts to throw down a robotics bay, because now it's thinking, okay, well, I've got a ton of Hydras, so Colossus is the answer. Unfortunately for him, since I pretty much won that engagement kind of one-sidedly, and I didn't lose that much, and I still have 3 bases to sort of pump units out, I can reinforce incredibly quickly, and that's exactly what I do. And so I guess the point of this entire thing is, if you're going to try to do a cannon contain, because honestly, if he didn't start it here, if he started it down here, probably would have worked out better, as we saw in the first game. That's right, I'm giving you tips on how to beat me, because that's what a good person does, I guess. Anyways, so if you're going to do a cannon contain, start it lower, so you can actually, I mean, it tips off your hand. But I don't know exactly. I think we know. We know what this wood is. I'm pretty sure we know what this wood is. I don't know what that's gonna be there. But anyways, as I said, if you're gonna try to do a cannon contain, start it. I mean, it's great if you can get away with it and prevent them from sort of getting out of the base. Like if you did it here and sort of stop my drones from getting down here in the first place. Hey, that is completely solid play. That is an ideal type of contain. If you're going to try to start here and prevent me from getting a third, that's not exactly going to help you all that much, because it's going to allow me to sort of finish this second off and completely just run over this base here, and you're going to lose a lot in the process. But anyways, I learned something about sort of preventing cannons. As we saw in the first game, I did absolutely horribly. I made a bunch of mistakes. In the second time, it helped that my opponent sort of made it in a bit of a later position rather than in the early position. But anyways, I learned some stuff. I hope you learned some things. As always, good luck out there. My name is Stark, and I shall see you next time.